Praise the Lord, everyone. So, Pastor last Sunday asked me to do Sunday school. And if you've ever had Pastor ask you to do something, you don't really say no. You just kind of say, yes, sir, I'll do it. So here I am. So I know I have to open with a joke. Don't get mad at me when my joke is not good. Just fake laugh, and we'll just call it a day after that. All right? All right. So a minister was preoccupied with thoughts of how he was going to ask the congregation to come up with more money than they were expecting to repair the media at the church. And yes, I changed the joke to media because I felt like it. Therefore, he was annoyed to find that the regular piano player was sick and a substitute had been brought in at the last minute. The substitute wanted to know what to play, so the minister said, here's a copy of the service, and he was very impatient about it, and he was mad. But you'll have to think of something to play after I make the announcement about the finances. During the service, the minister paused and said, brothers and sisters, we are in great difficulty. The media repairs cost twice as much as we expected, and we need $4,000 more. No, that is not a number for us. That was in the joke, just to let you know. Any of you who can pledge $100 or more, please stand up. At that moment, the substitute piano player played the Star Spangled Banner. And that is how the substitute became the regular pianist. Thank you, thank you. I'm here all week. Thank you. So, when Pastor asked me, I had already been working on a message that happened to be, when I was praying about it, happened to be this message. So it kind of worked out. But we're going to start in Numbers chapter 13, verse 1 through 3. And then we'll skip to the end of Numbers chapter 13 and go to 31 through 33. And I do have a lot of verses today, but we'll get through them as quick as possible. So verse 1 of chapter 13 says, And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Send thou men that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel. Of every tribe of their fathers shall ye send a man, every one a ruler among them. And then it goes on to talk about who he's sending. And then we're going to skip down to verse 31. And it says, But the men that went up with him said, We be not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, The land through which we have gone to search it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof, and all the people that we saw in it are men of a great stature. And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. Now we're going to skip over to chapter 14 and go to verse 21, and we'll read 21 through 34. But as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord, because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice. Surely they shall not see the land which I swear unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoked me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him, and hath followed me fully, him will I bring into the land whereinto he went, and his seed shall possess it. Now the Amalekites and the Canaanites dwell in the valley. Tomorrow turn you, and get you into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, How long shall I bear with this evil congregation, which murmur against me? I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel, which they murmur against me. Say unto them, As truly as I live, saith the Lord, as ye have spoken in mine ears, so will I do to you. Your carcasses shall fall in this wilderness, and all that were numbered of you, according to your whole number, from 20 years old and upward, which have murmured against me. Doubtless ye shall not come into the land concerning which I swear to make you dwell therein, save Caleb the son of Jephunneh and Joshua the son of Nun, but your little ones which ye said should be a prey, them will I bring in, and they shall know the land which ye have despised. But your little ones which ye said, oh wait, I'm sorry, I read that. But as for you and your carcasses, they shall fall in this wilderness, and your children shall wander in the wilderness 40 years, and bear your whoredoms until your carcasses be wasted in the wilderness. After the number of the days in which ye search the land, even 40 days each day for a year, ye shall bear your iniquities, even 40 years, and ye shall know my breach of promise. So from reading that, we know that when they arrived in Kadesh Barnea, Moses chose the 12 men to go to Canaan to spy. Everyone knows the two that, well, most people know the two of Joshua and Caleb. These 12 men had full responsibility for spying on all of Canaan. Their report would change the destiny of Israel. 10 of these men paid closer attention to what they saw than what God had promised them. You see in chapter 13, throughout the verse, they talk about what they see instead of what God promised them. They talk about the giants and the walls and how there's no way that they could win a battle against those individuals. Everyone has a different perspective on different subjects. Choose 12 different men or women to view one subject, and every single one of them is going to have a different perspective on it. Anyone in here, I know I had to do this in school, and I don't remember why, but they made us do a test, and it was called the Rorschach ink blot test. We did it in a health class, I believe, talking about psychology or something like that. But this test, it shows people different ink blots, and it determines their problems. So based on the ink blots that you see, if you see a butterfly, I'm assuming that's good. I don't know. If you see a spider, it's probably bad. I don't know. I'm just telling you that's the test. But every single person that looks at these pictures, they see different things, and they have a different perspective on it. Connor and I, growing up, we had a lot of the same friends. We were taught the same. We were both taught right and wrong, same thing every time. Both our parents loved us. But I will say about the love part, him, just a little bit more than me. Just a little bit. You're going to ask Sister Crystal that question after. But we do have the same perspective, or we don't have the same perspective on things, even though we grew up in the same house. We made different choices growing up. You know, I decided to go to college. He decided to go to the military. Our choices and perspectives on life made us different. You know, most services, we were in the same services. We heard the same messages, same revivals, same everything. But when it comes down to it, one message might have touched me different than Connor. And we got to realize the perspectives of others are different than ours. So the 10 spies said, no way, we can't. But Caleb and Joshua said, yes, we can. God told Israel that he was giving them the promised land. So you would think, knowing that you were given the promised land, after being told you were going to get out of Egypt, he does it. You go all the way to the Kadesh Barnea. They sent you in. You know that you're supposed to be in the promised land. He's already promised it. But they still did not see that. They said, no, we can't, because of what they saw, not of God's plan. In Numbers chapter 13, verse 30, he says, Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, we should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it. The right choice isn't always the easiest choice. Joshua and Caleb saw and recorded the same information as the 10 other men, but they made the choice in their report to have faith in God instead of doubt. I've been in plenty of scenarios where it comes down to it. You pray, if you're praying for something, I always pray every time I have a job opportunity or anything like that, I pray over my job opportunity. The current job I had, I was praying over, and I told God, if this isn't a job, I don't even want an offer from it. Don't even give me an offer, because I'll take it, because the money's good. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I need money. Everybody needs money, right? But then they offered me the job, and even after they offered me the job, I kept praying about it because I wasn't sure about it. But then it came down to it. They called me again and said, we have one more interview for you. If you do good in this interview, you have the job. There's no one else they're looking at right now. It's just you. I said, okay, thank you. I said, give me a couple days and I'll think about it. So a couple days later, it come and gone. I was still praying about it. And they called me back and said, all right, we need to know now. And I told him, I said, yeah, I'll do it. Still not knowing, but I said, God, if I have a good interview, I'll take the job. If I don't, I won't. Well, I had a great interview according to my supervisor, so I took the job. I mean, those are choices that we have to make, and those choices can affect not just our worldly life, but our spiritual life. You know, some jobs require you to travel so much that you can't be in church on a Sunday or a Wednesday. So that's things that we have to take into perspective. That's choices we have to make. But these 10 men made the choice of choosing the worldly view, their perspective of the world, rather than God's perspective of the world. I have friends that I've completely cut out of my life just because what they were doing I couldn't be involved in, because if I was involved in it, it would hurt my relationship with God. We have to make the hard choices sometimes, even though it's the choices we don't want to make. You know, I have a friend now that lives in California. He was like a brother to me. I don't talk to him anymore because it required too much. So the right choice requires faith in God to be there. Joshua and Caleb had faith in God to make that choice, to say, we can do it. Sometimes the right choice leads you into a storm. It's the truth. I've been there. Sometimes saying, no, I don't want to do that, causes things that it seems like, why in the world would Jesus put this in my path? Why in the world would this can't be the right choice? This has to be. I must have made the wrong choice. But it wasn't. We can look at Job. He had everything. Everything he ever wanted, he had it. And Satan challenges God that Job only lives this way because you've given him everything. You know, I haven't been given everything by any means, but I've been given what I've asked, and I'm thankful for that. But in the long run, I've gone through trial after trial, and sometimes it's felt like I've gone the wrong way. But it's not. You got to listen to God's plan the entire time. You made that choice, and now you got to listen to God's plan to get to the finish line. So, trial after trial, Satan takes away everything from Job. He makes him sick, but does not curse God. He made the right choice in the good times and the bad. You know, if you're hitting trial after trial, me personally, if I'm Job, I don't know what I'd do. They took everything from me, and I'd be like, God, what's up? What else can I do? Like, what am I doing wrong? But sometimes it's not what you're doing wrong, it's what Satan's doing to you. So he made the right choice in the good times and bad, and the entire time he praised the Lord. We're all blessed to be here in this church today. But we need to remember, even in the bad times, trial after trial, to choose to praise God. You know, like I said with Job, trial after trial, but he chose the right choice by praising God. We must choose that choice. We can't just sit back and say, I'll just wait until something better comes and see what happens. Because God's given us a choice to make. There's always a crossroads. The people of Israel, instead of listening to Caleb and Joshua, listened to the other 10. You know, the majority is not always right. You know, you go out in the world, the majority is not right. You come in here, I would say the majority is right when you're in here. But you got to realize that most of the time we're out there. We're only here 2 days a week. So you need to listen to the minority when you're out there. And if you have issues out there, you can always call someone in here. But the people made that decision to go with the other 10, and this choice kept the Israelites out of the promised land for 40 years. God was ready and had prepared the promised land, but the choice the wrong choice was made. Everybody makes a wrong choice. I've made plenty of wrong choices. Ask my parents. But at the end of the day, I look back and I pray. I'm like, God, if this is the wrong choice, help me get to the right choice. Give me another opportunity. You know, growing up, we were always taught to go, if you felt like going and praying for somebody, go pray for them. Which now I'm 26 years old. I got to think about it. 26 years old. And if God tells me to go pray for somebody, I go pray for them. Because I've been taught that my whole life. But now, when I was 14, 15, and God asked me to go pray for somebody, I didn't always do it. Because I was scared to do it. Because usually it was an elder, and I was always taught you respect your elders. And to me, I felt like I could be disrespecting them, thinking me going and praying for them. That was the wrong choice. I made the wrong choice. And I was talking to Brother Tim when he was here, and he had said the same thing. The same thing had happened to him over and over and over. And I asked him, what'd you do about it? He said, I just prayed about it. He said, I just asked God, give me another opportunity. So that's what I did. I asked God to give me another opportunity. And the next Sunday, God asked me to go pray for somebody, and I did it. I made the wrong choice, but I asked God, help me make the right choice. So that's something that we need to understand is even though we make the wrong choice, we can always ask God to help us correct that choice. So the Israelites, they were in the wilderness for 40 years. God was ready, but the wrong choice was made. And when they made that one choice, the journey to the promised land became a wandering in the wilderness. You ever felt like you're making a journey and make that one wrong turn and then you're wandering around the cornfields? I know Crystal knows. We've been there, haven't we? And we start wondering, we're like, let's not stop and ask somebody. Let's just go keep going. Let's keep the road. We'll turn around. I'm sure we'll find our way. But that journey to McDonald's became a wandering through the cornfield, and we were hungry. But that's not the point. That's not the point. But the wrong choice can cause a terrible consequence. Israel made the wrong choice and suffered by wandering for 40 years. When we each make the wrong choice, we begin wondering where God's plan is, what God's plan is for us. You know, like I said, I've been through my ups and downs for sure. But in college, before college actually, right there, I believe, Brother Brian was talking to me, and he told me, he said, here soon you're going to have to make a choice. You're going to have to go right or you have to go left. You only have one choice. And I fully admit I made the wrong choice. That was probably when I think I was 16 at the time when I made that wrong choice. And it took me 5 to 7 years-ish, I think, probably, to correct that. Because, you know, that journey that I was making, and I was on the right path, but then I turned and I started wondering. And I started looking away from God's plan. I made that choice to look away from his plan instead of looking at his plan. So choices can affect our walk with God and God's plan for each of us. According to Dr. Eva, I know I'm gonna screw her name up, so just Crockrow, a researcher in decision making at the University of Leicester, wrote an article in 2018 that said the average human makes 35,000 choices a day. That's a whole ton of choices. That includes getting out of bed, getting dressed, brushing your teeth, putting on deodorant. Anybody that needs to know that? But this boils down to 2,000 choices per hour. That's a lot of choices in it. I don't think I make that many choices in an hour. I don't want to make that many choices in an hour. I usually let my wife make that many choices in an hour. But that's one choice every 2 seconds. I calculated it up. So 35,000 choices a day is 245,000 choices a week. And that's 1,085,000 choices a month. And that's 12,775,000 choices a year. And I calculated it up earlier in the week to if you were 75 years old, it was like 900 million choices or something like that. It was a ridiculous amount of choices, and it was a number I did not want to have to read, so I didn't put that in here. But as of right now, you're choosing if I'm doing well or not, and then you have to choose to me. You have to choose and tell me if I did well or not. So you have to lie to me and tell me I did well, and that's okay. I understand. I don't think I do well either. But every choice you have made today has gotten you to Sunday school, either for some of you on time, for some of you late. Just to let you know. But these choices can affect your daily walk with God. I make the choice every day to read my Bible and pray. I make this choice to trying to further my walk with God. We each have to make that choice every day to further our walk with God. In the morning when I wake up in the morning, first thing I say is, God, help me live your path. Whatever your path is for me today, help me stay on that path. Help me make those right choices. The wrong choices caused the Israelites to die. In Numbers chapter 14, verse 29, it says, in this desert your bodies will fall, every one of you 20 years old or more, who was counted in the census and who has grumbled against me. Not one of you will enter the land I swore with uplifted hands to make your home, except Caleb and Joshua. I mean, I don't want to die. I don't want to make that wrong choice that at the end of the day, when I'm in heaven or when I'm in front of Jesus, he points to hell. I mean, every choice is going to it comes down to that choice. The first died when they did not listen to Moses and tried to go into Canaan anyways. The next died over the period of the 40 years in the wilderness, and this was everyone over 20 years old. So everyone in here, I think would, sorry guys, you wouldn't have made it. But the wrong choice can cause a long road back to God's plan. Like I told you about my choice. I took, which in the scheme of things, 5 to 7 years isn't a long time, but I'm only 26, so that's a long time for me, guys. But we got to understand that only Joshua and Caleb and the children under 20 survived to reach the promised land. The choice of Israel was wrong because they looked at the perspective of the world instead of listening to the plan of God. And I know on a daily basis, we're out in the world. It's hard to not look at the world and see, why in the world am I doing this? They're enjoying this and this and this, and I can't do any of it. But at the end of the day, I come here. I make the choice to be here. We make the choice to be here because we know that we have to be here. So the perspective of the world has no control over what God has promised each of us. We cannot choose both. Some of the Israelites tried to choose both. That's what they tried to do. I just told you they tried to go into Canaan anyways. Even after choosing, they were like, well, we can't do it, but I changed mine. We can. Let's just go anyways. I'm sure God will help us out. We'll see what happens. Well, they died. So it didn't work. It cost them their lives. The devil cannot make us sin. He lies and tries to make it look good, but we make that choice. God told Adam and Eve not to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, or you will die. The devil lied to Eve, but she had the choice not to eat of the tree. She was given the choice. I mean, we all know the devil is manipulative, if I can say the word. But at the end of the day, we have to choose between the devil and God. I mean, you can read in the Bible, it says that an option was given. They gave them a choice. It says, you can serve other masters, but as for me and my house, I'm going to serve the Lord. We see in Genesis 3 and verse 6, it says, and the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise. She took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. Eve looked at the tree and saw that it was good for food. Instead of listening to God, she chose to eat of the tree. She made the choice because she saw the tree and thought it looked good. You know, some things look good and ain't good for you. French fries look good, but they ain't good for you. Dr. Pepper looks really, really, really good, but it ain't good for you. So we have to make that choice. Both Eve and Israel chose to abandon God's plan. Israel had to wander in the wilderness and wait to enter the promised land. At the end of that 40 years, they had to choose again to either say we can or we can't. All I'm saying is, can you imagine how Caleb and Joshua felt at this point? They waited 40 years, even though they said we can do this. They had to wait the 40 years, and then they have to choose again, and they're wondering if they're going to choose yes or no. They believed in Kadesh Barnea. Now they are waiting to cross the Jordan. If it was me personally, and my family can tell you I do this a lot, I would be screaming, come on, let's do this. Let's get this over with. Let's get over there. Let's take our promised land, and we made the choice. Let's go. And even though it took 40 years, they still had the faith. Caleb and Joshua still had the faith that God would give them the promised land if Israel chose to go. You see, just because two chose it doesn't mean that it happened, because they chose from the beginning. But Israel as a whole had to choose. The choices we make can affect our future walk with God. When we choose, we can either enjoy it, the happiness, or endure its sadness. That's the only two options you can usually get when it comes down to things. You know, when I decided to ask Kelsey to marry me, there was only two options, yes or no. And if she would have said no, it would have been really awkward for me. And I would have been quite upset. But she chose yes, so I was happy. Still happy. Married the most beautiful lady in the world. But we look at things like that. We look at what can make us happy and what can make us sad. In 1939, Germany decided to invade Poland, and World War II ensued. In 1941, Japan decided to bomb Pearl Harbor, and as a result, the U.S. detonated the first atomic bomb in Hiroshima on August 6 of 1945. Every choice has a consequence. Good or bad, it has a consequence. Every choice can affect our walk with God. The right choice can further our walk. The wrong choice can bring us farther away from God. It's pretty simple. One choice can mean heaven or hell, but we have been given the manual for each of us. That's why Pastor always says you should read your Bible every day. That's why we hand out wherever that thing's at. We hand this out every year. You read 3 chapters a day. You're going to read it in a year or something like that. I don't know what the average is a day or whatever, but you read in 2 Timothy chapter 3 verse 16 through 17, and it says, all scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness. And verse 17 says that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. We can look at the story of the Israelites and see what happened and see that the choices they made were wrong. So we have to use that in our lives to make the right choice. We see the choice that Eve made. We see the choices that Job made. We see one made good decisions and one made bad decisions, and how it affected not just them, but others. And I've told you guys before, I'm not very long, so if we could all stand. I'm gonna close real quick with this. In the last what was that, 2 weeks ago we had revival. I don't even remember. It's all a blur at this point of what the weeks were. But we chose to have great revival. As soon as the service started on Thursday, we knew that was going to be it was going to be good, right? And then Friday was the same way. We chose Friday would be good. Sunday, we chose Sunday. And last Wednesday, we had a great service last Wednesday. But with these choices, we decided to choose to push forward with our walk with God, not to stop where revival ended, but to keep pushing. And we have to learn from the Israelites where God's promised this to us. So we have to keep pushing. We have to go ahead into Canaan. We have to kill the giants. We have to take down those walls. And with faith, we can do that. I saw a quote from Brother Billy Cole, and it said, "Revival is when people are lining up at the church door for a prayer meeting." And I say that because we have prayer meeting on Wednesday nights, guys. If you didn't know, it's 7 o'clock. And I don't usually see a line. We do have a lot more people than we've had in the past. But you have to make that decision or that choice to be here at 6:55, to be in prayer meeting at 7 o'clock, or be at church on Wednesday night, or be in Sunday school at whatever time Sunday school starts, 10 o'clock, church at 11. We got to make those choices. I can't make those choices for you because I ain't coming and picking you up. But if we choose to walk by faith, this church can have an explosion of what we had for 4 services we've had over the past month. It wasn't just revival that we had great services. We've had services for 2-3 months now. And me and Pastor have talked about it when we've been to dinner or whatever, and how different the atmosphere is in town. You know, this church is going to touch this town because the explosion we're going to have of revival. So my last thing is, you have to make the choice now. Do you say, I can't, I'm comfortable, I'll stay where I'm at, I'll come on Sundays and maybe on some Wednesdays if I can make it? Or do you say, I can, and I push through it? As a church, do we decide we're going to have revival, or are we going to sit where we're at and stay comfortable? I'm going to ask Brother Pettit to pray, because I look over to my elders. So, Brother Pettit, if you could pray. All right, you're dismissed. It's 10:35-ish, so we got some time.